JTV Caribbean News, and Sean Rose. St. Lucia parliamentarian Guy Joseph has accused the government of withholding information on the issue of the alleged public sector wage cut in the budget estimates. Word of possible cuts to St. Lucia's wage bill has resulted in much anxiety among public servants and the wider society. Joseph is accusing the St. Lucia Labour Party administration of blatant deceit. Sarah Peter has this report from HTS News Force.
Former Government Minister Guy Joseph says the government has been questionably silent on the issue of whether the present administration will be cutting public sector salaries by 5%. Joseph says the government needs to stop stalling and say something definitive on the matter. He argues the fact the government included the 5% wage cut in the budget estimates should speak volumes to the electorate.
I think that information is deliberately being withheld from all persons. And that's the level of deceit that we have to deal with all of the time. Because the section that deals with the estimates were given in terms of projects, capital, and recurrent. But the section that deals with salaries, wages, and the various positions, we received only on the morning of the debate. It was never part of the original document, which was the practice of the past. So there's clearly an indication that they did not want us to be able to pick up on that early enough to have made it an issue during the budget.
Joseph further accused some of the unions of partisanship, alleging there is a bias against the United Workers' Party. He went on to denounce what he says are blatant attempts by certain unions to politicize important issues.
Take, for example, the teachers' union. Take Mr. Monrose as an example, who was one of the leading persons, very adamant. What is he saying now? Is he part of the plan that the government to cut back the salaries? Did he have inside information that he's withholding from his members? Because you see, we must not, there are things in this country that you don't play politics with.
The Cashie South East MP has called on the government to be more upfront with the public sector.
I expect the same attitude that was displayed towards the UWP government to be displayed this time around. For that matter, it's worse because you have 15% VAT, and if the government gave the public servants a 5% increase or a 4% increase during the last wage negotiations, and they are taking back 5%, it is like they borrowed them the money at 20% interest, and now they're taking it back with 20% interest on it.
Many are concerned that a possible 5% wage cut in the public sector could be detrimental to the country and significantly hurt the island's economy. The administration counters that the state cannot continue to borrow to finance its operations, and such a path will only lead to financial ruin. Sarah Peter, HTS News Force.
Trinidad and Tobago has joined other Caribbean community countries that have instituted water rationing as they deal with the impact of a prolonged dry season. Trinidad's Water and Sewerage Authority introduced a temporary water supply schedule for parts of the Twin Island Republic as a result of below normal rainfall conditions in April. WASA, as it is called, said a similar weather pattern is forecast for this month. The statement from WASA quotes the director at the Meteorological Services of Trinidad and Tobago, Marlon Noel, who explained that the below normal rainfall observed is in relation to long-term averages over a 30-year period. Noel said that Tobago is experiencing what is termed a dry spell, which began in March and has extended into May. WASA said this situation has resulted in the need for greater management of water supply and that consumers must also practice water use efficiency habits. St. Martin's Princess Juliana International Airport will soon be launching construction on a new state-of-the-art fixed-base operations facility for private jets. The facility is urgently needed, according to Mikkel Hyman, operations manager at Princess Juliana Airport. He said every year there is an increase in requests to park private jets at the airport. The new state-of-the-art fixed-base operations facility for private jets is part of a wider capital improvement program at that airport. The Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, IICA, says Latin America and the Caribbean will need to implement policies that guarantee the region's agricultural sector stability and greater legal security following the enactment of the United States Farm Bill. The new act implements an agricultural safety and risk coverage network for U.S. farmers that will offer them guaranteed profit margins and larger production volumes, and at the same time allow them to compete in international markets under advantageous conditions. The measures approved in the U.S. Agricultural Act was signed into law by President Barack Obama in February. IICA said this development will undermine the ability of major Latin America and Caribbean countries' commodity producers and exporters to compete with their U.S. counterparts, while tropical countries will enjoy the benefit of cheaper agricultural imports. IICA said that the Latin America and Caribbean countries need to respond by developing policies aimed at better organizing and supporting their agricultural sectors that dovetail with the regional integration mechanisms. Haiti has confirmed 14 cases of the mosquito-borne chikungunya virus that has been affecting the region since it was first detected in the Caribbean in December last year. Health Minister Florence Goulame Dopoval said the government would soon begin a public education program in a bid to alert citizens about the viral disease transmitted to humans by infected mosquitoes. On May 1st, the head of the Caribbean Public Health Authority, Dr. James Hospitales, declared that the chikungunya virus has reached epidemic proportions in the Caribbean. The virus was first detected in the Caribbean in December 2013 in St. Martin, and since then about 10 Caribbean countries have reported confirmed cases of the painful illness most commonly found in Asia and Africa. Resistance to antibiotics is now a major global threat to public health, with devastating implications likely unless significant action is taken urgently. That's according to a new report by the World Health Organization, the WHO, which analyzed data from 114 countries and said resistance was occurring in every region of the world. According to Caribbean360.com, the report warned of a grim post-antibiotic era in which simple infections and minor injuries that have been successfully treated for decades will once again become potentially deadly. The report looked at 7 different bacteria responsible for common but serious diseases like pneumonia, blood infections, and diarrhea, and suggested that 2 key antibiotics no longer work in more than half of people being treated in some countries. Assistant Director General at the WHO, Dr. Keiji Fukuda, said without urgent coordinated action by many stakeholders, the world is headed for a post-antibiotic era in which common infections and minor injuries, which have been treatable for decades, can once again kill. The report also called for better hygiene, access to clean water, infection control in healthcare facilities, and vaccination to reduce the need for antibiotics. For the JTV Caribbean News, Sean Rose.
And coming up next on JTV News, Cruise Pier Expansion Project breaks ground, indicating the project is ready to start. Officers in the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force are now using tasers and pepper spray. Elmer Stout High School wins its secondary debate opposing the moot decriminalization of marijuana will do more good than harm to the Virgin Islands. And Kito Reimer tells JTV News about plans for music on the beach.